Hello, Mel. Hello, Angela.
Good morning and good afternoon.
So just kind of gently shaking up anything that's stuck in the brain so that when we continue to do our movements, we're kind of leading those toxins downward into that collarbone area. So around the eyes, and then nose, ears, and thyroid, top of the kidney meridian, and thymus. And then the kidneys themselves. I'm just gonna below my nose here. And then we can do our lymphatic work in the collarbone. So remember, this lymphatic work is really just about making sure the pressurization of the system is working correctly. What really helps the lymphatic system is movement. And the kind of movement we do, which is a lot of that winding, twisting movement, is really the best kind of movement to do. Because I would say you don't have to do a lot of that, whereas maybe other kind of movement you have to do more of. So say the squatting that we were talking about yesterday, that would be pretty good movement to do, say to get the lymphatic going. And movements like Tai Chi, good. The meridian would be good, meridian Qigong. And let's go to sides of the neck. Intending and focusing to drain any toxins out of the brain. And we'll do that one. And we can move to the back of the neck. And then squeeze and release brainstem. And then we move to pectoral underarm area. And so for respiratory issues, prevention and recovery of breast cancer, this upper lung area and this whole armpit area is going to be really, really important. And especially fall going into winter, I think you'll find after doing this lymphatic work on a regular basis, you may find that less respiratory issues are going to start happening. So maybe less colds and flus would be great. Then we go to the abdominal area. Stomach meridian. And movement wise, you could do this thing. We don't do this very often, but it is a very popular Qigong kind of movement. And so we're moving this and just letting the arms relax and swing. And typically what's happening is the wrist is kind of hitting this chi high point here, and the outside of the wrist is hitting this Mingmen sacrum area. So let's go to the crease, do that. And so one good thing about the routine that we do here in class is we do certain movements to kind of activate things, get things going. And then we do some connective tissue stretches, which again gets a lot of the energy system and fluids working. So continue to do the back of the knees as I blow my nose again. And then our yin yang peg. So today I seem to have a little more to clear out of the sinuses area. Spend a little more time on the joints. The inside of the elbow here is a really good space that some people will say pat even like 36 times or more before they move on. This particular area here is really good for helping lungs and heart. You have a pericardium meridian going through the center of the yin part of the here. And remember, the pericardium is a heart protector. So this padding is really good also for any neurological issues. And that's going to include things like MS, Parkinson's, peripheral neuropathy. And the sides of the rib cage and around the belt. And the outside of the legs. Front. Around the belt again. And then down the back of the legs. And up the inside. spiraling. So let's go to Y solids backwards. Stretching eyes, look behind us. Doing these movements very slowly and mindfully. And rhinoceros gazing at the moon. Winding palms and tendons. Full body. Snake body. And a big round hip movement. And I think I do this one a lot slower than most people do. And kind of what you find is as you do a lot of this movement work, your body kind of gives you some instructions sometimes to say, try it really slowly, do this, do that. Listen to all of that. So hula hips. Because typically after we do a lot of this kind of work for a while, our consciousness starts to inform us of ways for us as individuals to do a lot of this work that's maybe more beneficial to us. Because maybe in that present moment or ongoing, we need to do it in a particular way. So let's do knees. And then flexing knees. Ankles. And I could be doing this one too. So let's do some acupuncture points. So we're into July now. Definitely summer. And maybe we'll stop doing the 4 gates. Maybe we'll occasionally definitely do liver meridian. Maybe we'll do it on a pretty regular basis. I think kind of year round, working with liver, kidneys, spleen is a good idea because again, those are our detoxification functions. Spleen has that connection with the lymphatic system. And the body has a lot of mechanisms to get rid of sick, stale energy and toxins. And so we really want to kind of make sure that those systems are functioning pretty much to their peak capacity. And in my experience, I think as people get older, a lot of those systems, again, are not working as well as they were when we were younger. And I kind of believe, so let's do gallbladder, that really healthier aging is dependent upon making sure those detox systems are working well, because naturally they seem to degrade to maybe even 50%. Let's do gallbladder on the other side. Of what was just naturally occurring, say, when we were in our 20s. So let's do spleen 6. And again, you could sweep the spleen meridian. As you do this, you could do the bubbling spring kidney 1 point. So whatever kind of additional movement you want to make. And let's do spleen 6 on the other side. And as I've said many times, a lot of people will pretty much do spleen 6 and say stomach 36 on a regular basis, just because those 2 points again really help with detoxification, getting illness out of the body. And really, so stomach 36. Really, I've only added these acupuncture points into class recently. So for a couple of decades, we didn't really do this. Well, for the most part, because we were practicing um, uh, together live. We were standing up. There really weren't, a lot of chairs available that everybody could just sit down. That would have taken up too much time really to do this kind of work. But now that we're doing it through Zoom, kind of easy just to have your own chair available and do some of these points. So again, pericardium, so this is going to be good for summertime, which is what we're in. Working with a heart protector, pulling excess heat out of the heart, which is pretty important to do. You don't want your heart getting overheated in the summertime on those really warm days. But this is a pretty popular movement that even in Ayurvedic, this movement's done quite a bit. And again, we're going through these pretty quickly, especially one like this. Usually people that do this one will spend some time doing this one. And even bubbling spring, if we were doing Dao Yin, you're supposed to really do this kind of massage work on bubbling spring for 81 times. Because some of these gates, so remember the palm gate that we're working on now and bubbling spring are two of the bigger gates. And there's a lot of six-tail extra energy pouring out of these gates, but also hands are used for healing when people are doing healing work through that point mainly. Let's do the heart 7 point. So we find that tendon, we go inside, we just let the wrist relax, and we're definitely at that heart 7 point. So by spending a little bit more time on that Lao Gong point and kidney 1, we're making sure those two energy gates, which again, I think for the most part have what you would call more throughput. So they're a little bit bigger than a lot of the other energy gates in the body. Because they're pretty important again for bringing energy in. So the bottom of the foot is really bringing a lot of the earth energy up into the system. And then the palm is definitely sending energy out, pulling energy in. And you see a lot of those movements, say in Tai Chi movements, because there's a lot of movement with the palm in Tai Chi. So let's go to the other side, find the tendon, and just let the wrist relax. So today, let's do healing sounds. We haven't done healing sounds in a little while. And so with healing sounds, so there's two kind of practices that can go together a bit. The inner smile practice and the healing sound practice. Some people do the more complete version of the inner smile. And I'll just kind of go through what that is. So I know some people say will get up in the morning or even before they get out of bed, they'll do the whole inner smile practice. And then just as you go to bed at night, they might do the healing sound practice because that kind of gets rid of all the stuff that we accumulated emotionally during the day. So the more complete inner smile practice would be starting in the head here, going into both hemispheres of the brain and saying thank you, going to each one of the glands, going to maybe the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth. So you would be covering a lot of territory and basically spending a little bit of time. And a lot of this can be done, say, with eyes closed, and you're just doing a meditation where you're going in and thanking the pituitary gland. And then you spend a little time really feeling gratitude pour into that pituitary gland, and then spending enough time there where you start to feel that there's a little bit of an overflow of energy that starts to pour out of that space. And then you go into the next space. And part of it can be too, is as you're pouring gratitude and thank you into that particular space, you're waiting for that space to overflow and feel that that space is saying thank you back to you. And then you slowly move downward and do organs, endocrine system are the most important things, nervous system, maybe circulatory systems, lymphatic system. So you go through all these systems all the way down to the feet and the toes. So I've just kind of added in the inner smile at the end of doing the healing sounds. So for the healing sounds, first we do a lung sound, which is just that hissing sound. And you can do it sitting down. Typically, a lot of people do some of this. So the Tao Yin work, the inner smile work, the healing sound work. A lot of us were taught to do it either in lotus position or seated position like this. You could do it standing up. That's fine too. You can even do this lying down. So we start off with the lungs, and we can add in emotional content. So we can go into this space and feel whatever sadness and grief is kind of hanging in this area. And when you look for that, maybe you don't find any grief. Now, definitely we all have grief that we're hanging on to. So the idea is we're trying to access and use memory to get to that area of grief that might still be stuck in certain areas. And the area through and around the lungs, and that includes this area outside the body. So even going around the back of the body, there might be some grief. So the first thing we do is try to see if we can feel any grief that might still be around, and sadness, but grief is the most important thing to tune into. And then if we get that feeling of grief, we want to change that into gray smoke with our inhale. If we're not getting any grief feeling, we're just intending that any grief that might be still stuck in the system is something that we're changing into gray smoke and then exhaling out. And so once we get that feeling of grief, we inhale through the nose, slowly bringing the palms upward and turning them upward. And as we're doing this, we're again changing that grief into gray smoke. And then when we do this part, we're exhaling out the gray smoke through our mouth. It's falling into the earth, into the center of the earth in front of us. And we're making the hissing sound. And then we're just inhaling and exhaling normally, letting the palms come down. And as the palms come down, they're leading more positive emotions into that space, which would be courage and laughter and joy, leaving no more room for the sadness and grief. And then we feel and imagine that white light is glowing through and around the lungs. And again, you want to feel that white light is in the space around the body, in the front, in the sides of the lungs, in the back of the body. So you want to really cover the areas with these colors. And then as we're imagining the white light saturating the entire area, we also can be doing the healing sound practice for the lungs, going in and feeling gratitude toward the lungs, thanking the lungs for the great job we're doing, because all these organs and systems are working 24/7. They're not taking a break. They're not going to sleep. They're always functioning. And so the idea here is we do as many repetitions for grief until we actually feel better about the grief and feel that we've let go of some of that grief today. So when we just practice this in class, we just go through maybe 3 of each. So let's tune into whatever grief is left, whatever sadness is left. And again, we inhale through the nose. The sound vibration helps to break up the sadness and the grief. So the exhale, and then breathing normally through the nose and letting pour into that space courage and happiness and laughter and joy, leaving no more room for the sadness and grief. And again, the white light glowing stronger and stronger. And the inner smile practice of thanking the lungs, sending gratitude into the lungs. So let's do one more of those. So inhale, changing sadness and grief into gray smoke, and then exhaling it out. Breathing normally and letting courage, joy, laughter pour into that space, leaving no more room for the sadness and grief. White light saturating the entire area, and feeling gratitude toward the lungs. So the next area we go to is kidneys. So for kidneys, if you're sitting down, maybe you go a little forward in your chair, which you can be sitting forward in your chair the whole time we're doing this. Knees and feet come together, and we can kind of interlace our fingers a little bit and do a movement like this when we do the exhale sound. That's putting pressure on the back of the kidneys because of this part of the movement. But then our breath is also putting pressure on the kidneys. And then when we do the sound, we are also making a physical movement to move our belly button back toward our spine and the kidneys. So we're compressing the kidneys in all the dimensions. So here we're tuning into the feeling of fear. And it might be a person or a thing or whatever that we feel fear for. Maybe we don't feel fear. But typically, fear, anxiety, grief, these are all things that are stuck in our system. So even if we're not presently today working with a certain so-called negative emotion, there's lingering bits of it, definitely from the past, that are here. So we're tuning into the feeling of fear. Once we have that feeling, again, we're going to inhale, change that feeling into gray smoke. And then we're making that chew sound. So it's inhale through the nose, change into gray smoke. And typically our eyes are open and we're looking down at kind of a 45-degree angle to the floor when we do this part. And then we're breathing normally, coming back to an upright position, and bringing the feelings of courage into that space through and around the kidneys, leaving no more room for the fear. And a midnight blue color or a blue black is saturating through and around the kidneys. Remember, it's also in the energy field around the body, 360 degrees around. And we can be doing the inner smile to the kidneys, thanking them for the great job that they're doing in detoxing, and really feeling that gratitude feeling. So let's do one more. So we're inhale, changing any fear into gray smoke, exhaling the fear out with the sound that's breaking it up. Breathing normally, blue-black color saturating the area. Inner smile of saying thank you to the kidneys, feeling the gratitude pour into the kidneys, and really feel the gratitude. So all this work is about really feeling things instead of kind of thinking things. So let's do one more of those. Inhale, changing fear into gray smoke, exhaling it out. Breathing normally, courage replacing the fear, feeling that midnight blue, blue, black saturating through and around the kidneys, and the inner smile work. So from the kidneys, we're going into the liver. So the feet can come together, like go back into the normal. If we were standing, this would be a horse stance kind of position. Again, we want to make sure if we're sitting down or in lotus that our spine is straight and our posture is good. So now we're at the liver. So the liver is about anger and resentment and impatience and frustration. So tune into any one of those that you might be feeling right now. And then once you have that feeling, we're going to again inhale, changing that feeling into gray smoke, exhaling it out. So the sound here is S-H-H-H-H. So it's just a shh sound. So once we have the feeling of anger or frustration or whichever thing is sort of poking us right now, inhale, changing that into gray smoke, interlacing our fingers a little bit lightly, leaning a little bit to the left since the liver is on the right side here, and then doing the sound shh. Breathing normally, allowing kindness and gentleness and patience pour into that space, leaving no more room for the anger, the frustration, whatever it is that is concerning us right now. And it's going to be a green color, blowing again through and around the liver. So we want to get into the cellular structure of the organ, but also get into the energetic field around that space. And typically that green is going to be kind of a forest green. We want it to be, an emerald green. So any of these colors, make sure that they are pure and clear colors. So a really pure, clear, clean green is saturating throughout the area, leaving no more room for the frustration or the impatience or the anger or whatever it is we're working with. And then pouring gratitude in. So the idea here is we're using a particular sound vibration in each case, which is has a specific frequency to break up the stuck energy that we're working with. And then the bringing in of the positive emotion helps to neutralize the negative and bring us into a calm center where we don't feel the push or pull of each extreme. And then the color is light vibration. So we're working with sound and light, which is how the creation made physical reality. And also gratitude is another high vibrational state. So we're working with those areas to bring the system back into harmony. So let's do one more of the anger. So again, tuning into whatever anger is left. Inhale, changing that into gray smoke. Exhaling it out to get rid of more of it. Breathing normally and feeling the feelings of patience, kindness, pour in, leaving no more room for the anger, gentleness. Green color glowing strongly, saturating the entire area and the field around it. And then feelings of gratitude pouring in. So what we're doing is we're doing some inner alchemy to bring all these higher vibrational states into the system. So from liver, we go to the heart. And the heart's probably the easiest one to remember because it's love and hate in red color. And we may not hate anybody right now, or we may not hate anything right now, but there's a lot of hate around us in the world. So we can just tune into things like that. So if we're not feeling fear ourselves, again, there's a lot of fear around us. So we can just be tuning into those aspects. So we tune into the feeling of hate. And then we're going to inhale, change it into gray smoke. And so it's either the ha sound or haw sound. So again, we're lightly interlacing our fingers, inhaling, changing that hatred into gray smoke. And we're going to lean a little bit to the right because the heart is a little bit to the left. And we say the sound. So we can either say the breathy sound, that haw sound. And then we're breathing normally and feeling unconditional love pour into the system and into the heart, leaving no more room for the hatred. And ruby red color is glowing brightly in the area through and around the heart. And you can even feel it in the circulatory system with all the blood in the body. And gratitude for the heart. So feeling grateful for the heart, saying thank you to the heart. So another sound we can make that's good is the ha sound. Instead of making it more breathy, we can do it very vocally, ha, like that. But again, for the ha sound, what you want to do is kind of put your palm on the physical heart. And you can even have your fingertips, say, on the heart chakra if you wanted to. But basically, we want to start at a very high pitch with this sound and then bring it down to a lower pitch. And as we're doing that, we want to feel the vibration in our palm and see what's the strongest vibration. And that's the tonal quality we want to do if we're doing it this way. So it would be ah. And say for me, and I do have a lower voice, that lower vibration of ha is much stronger than that ah vibration. And so that's the sound I want to do. And so again, we can tune into the hatred, change that into gray smoke, inhale, exhale it out. Ah. Breathe normally. Unconditional love pouring in, leaving no more room for the hatred. Ruby red color glowing brightly. And gratitude and thank you going into the heart. And really feeling the gratitude. Really telling your system that you are so thankful that it is doing all this work and never rests and starts the minute well, it actually even starts, a lot of this starts when we're still in that embryonic stage, but definitely the minute we're born, all of these systems are working and they keep on working until the end. So from the heart, we go into the spleen area. So again, that's going to be lymphatic system, but primarily in the emotional body, this is where the anxiety and the worry sits. So you can see how anxiety and worry and stress definitely inhibits the lymphatic system and the rest of the immune system, because the immune system is in this area also. And so that's why working with stress and anxiety and worry is really kind of a big deal. So in this area, we do sword fingers. So sword fingers is little finger and ring finger curl inward, and our thumb holds them inward. And then our index and middle finger create this sword configuration, which you see a lot of people will hold this sword configuration. Say they're right-handed and they have an actual sword and they're doing Tai Chi sword or something like that. In the left, they'll have sword fingers. And what that does is it balances the physical sword that they're working with here. And it's a yin and yang kind of thing. And there's more to it than that, but basically we're using sword fingers and we're going into the area on the left below the last floating rib. And that's kind of where the spleen, pancreas, stomach, all that area is, because that's what we're working with. And we want to inhale, changing any worry and anxiety into gray smoke. Bring the sword fingers first out like this, bringing them back to back, going into that space. And then we can actually press in a bit with the fingers and lean forward at the same time, doing the sound whoo. So it's like wind blowing through your mouth. So tuning into anxiety and worry. Inhaling, changing it into gray smoke. Exhaling. Breathing normally. Bringing in feelings of calm and relaxation, leaving no more room for the worry and anxiety. And a pure, clear yellow color is glowing throughout the area. And again, we can be going in and saying thank you to the spleen, stomach area, the second brain here. Much of our immune system is in this microbiome gut area. And so again, the thank you goes into all of those systems. And the bright yellow color and the gratitude. So let's do another one of those. So inhaling, changing into gray smoke, any worry, anxiety. Exhaling it out to get rid of some more of it. Breathing normally. Strong, bright yellow color, glowing. Feelings of gratitude pouring in. And a lot of people have this anxiety worry situation. So you might do this one 12 times, 24 times until again you feel that you've released enough of that anxiety and worry. And so the last part is the he sound. So this is connected to pericardium and triple warmer. Has a red color, but we're not really dealing with any of that part. What we're really dealing with here is feeling that the entire triple warmer area, which is this entire torso area, is going into a state of balance and harmony. And so when we do our inhale through the nose, we want to feel that there's a movement upward. And then when we do the he sound, we want to feel that there's a movement through the entire system and around it, downward. And that upward downward flow pattern is helping to rebalance and harmonize all the systems here, all the organs that we were pinpointing. And so again, you don't have to do a movement with this. The palms can just be facing upward. And so it's just an inhale through the nose and then saying the he sound. And with this one, we can just be continuous about it. So another inhale through the nose, another he sound. And some people might even do the he sound more vocally, and they might do a higher pitch sound. So inhaling through the nose, he. So something like that. And also you can experiment a little bit with these vocal sounds to just feel what's really helping to release what I'm trying to release. So again, with the he sound, we're rebalancing the system, but by using the triple warmer, we're getting into that fight, flight, freeze part of things, okay? So let's just do another one that's more breathy. So it's the inhale and then the exhale. And you would do enough of those to feel again that now the entire space here is feeling more harmonious. It's feeling more in balance. Everything's feeling like we've done a pretty good job of releasing a lot of the negative things that we've been hanging on to and bringing in the positive so that we're in that middle path neutral center. And then again, we've raised the vibration of all these spaces so that these organs and all the functions have an easier time staying healthy and doing the peak capacity work. So we're definitely out of time for today. Thank you for coming to practice together. Good way to kind of end the week with the healing sounds.
Thank you, Steve. And I hope you and everybody have a great 3-day weekend and get some time off to relax and recharge, I hope.
Yes, and everybody have a great 4th of July coming up. So
Yeah.
I'll see everybody next time.
See you on next Tuesday.
Yep.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you for coming to practice together.